Imagine a peaceful Christmas Eve in 1945, filled with laughter, warmth, and joy. For the Sodder family, it was a night that would shatter their world forever. This is the story of the mysterious disappearance of the Sodder children, a tale filled with strange occurrences, unanswered questions, and lingering shadows. George and Jenny Sodder lived with their 10 children in a large 2-story house in Fayetteville, West Virginia. They were a tight-knit family, well respected in their community. But as the clock struck midnight on December 24th, a series of events unfolded that would leave the world baffled for decades. Christmas Eve began like any other festive night for the Sodders. The children were excitedly unwrapping presents from Marion, the oldest daughter, as she had been working at a dime store in downtown Fayetteville, and she surprised 3 of her younger sisters, Martha, Jenny, and Betty, with new toys she had bought for them. The younger children were so excited that they asked their mother if they could stay up past what would have been their usual bedtime, and the house was filled with holiday cheer. Around 10 p.m., Jenny put the younger children to bed and headed to sleep herself, leaving a few of the older kids still awake. At 1 a.m., Jenny was awakened by the phone ringing. She went downstairs to answer it. She answered to hear a woman's voice asking for someone Jenny didn't know. In the background, she could hear laughter and clinking glasses. She hung up and noticed the lights were still on and the curtains open, something the children usually took care of before bed. Returning to bed, Jenny was soon startled by a loud bang on the roof, followed by a rolling sound. Moments later, she smelled smoke. Rushing to the hallway, she found flames engulfing the stairway coming from the room George used for his office. Jenny woke him, and he in turn woke his older son. George and Jenny managed to escape with 4 of their children, Marion, Sylvia, John, and George Jr., but 5 were still trapped inside: Maurice, Martha, Louise, Jenny, and Betty. George tried to re-enter the house, but the staircase was already a raging inferno. John said in his first police interview after the fire that he went up to the attic to alert his siblings sleeping there, though he later changed his story to say that he only called up there and did not actually see them desperate. George tried several ways to rescue his children. He broke a window to enter the house, severely cutting his arm. He climbed an external ladder, which mysteriously was missing from its usual spot. He tried to start both of his trucks to drive closer to the house and climb, but neither truck would start despite having been in perfect working order earlier that day. Efforts to find aid and rescue the children were unexpectedly complicated. The phone did not work, so Marion ran to a neighbor's house to call the Fayetteville Fire Department. A driver on the nearby road had also seen the flames and called from a nearby tavern. They too were unsuccessful, either because they could not reach the operator or because the phone there turned out to be broken. Either the neighbor or the passing motorist was eventually successful in reaching the fire department from another phone in the center of town. By dawn, the house was reduced to ashes. George and Jenny assumed their children had perished in the fire, but a brief search of the ruins revealed no trace of their remains. The local fire chief suggested the fire was hot enough to completely cremate the bodies, but this explanation left the Sodders skeptical. A subsequent investigation uncovered numerous inconsistencies. The fire department, hindered by the holiday and a lack of manpower, didn't arrive until 8 a.m. The telephone line, initially believed to be burned by the fire, was later found to have been cut. In the months and years following the tragedy, strange clues and theories began to emerge. Jenny found household appliances in the rubble, untouched by the flames, further casting doubt on the official account. Witnesses came forward claiming to have seen the children. One said they were seen peering from a passing car during the fire, and another reported seeing them in a nearby town with unfamiliar adults. Even more bizarrely, Jenny found a small, hard rubber object in the yard, which some thought might have been a napalm pineapple bomb, raising questions about a possible arson attack. Determined to uncover the truth, the Sodders put up a billboard along Route 16, offering a reward for information leading to the recovery of their children. They hired private detectives, appealed to the FBI, and continued their quest despite mounting frustration and heartache. In 1968, over 2 decades after the fire, Jenny received a photograph in the mail of a young man with a striking resemblance to her missing son, Louis. The back read, "Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie. I still hope to hear from mother, dad, and sisters and brothers. I have a family in Centralia, Illinois. Jenny Sodder immediately contacted the Centralia Police Department, but they were unable to find any record of a Louis Sodder living in the area. Jenny also tried to contact the man in the photo, but she was unable to reach him. The identity of the man in the photo remains unknown, and it is unclear whether he is actually Louis Sodder. However, the photo remains one of the most compelling leads in the case. Over the years, numerous theories have surfaced. Some suggest that the children were kidnapped. This is a popular theory, and there is some evidence to support it. For example, one witness reported seeing a car speeding away from the Sodder house on the night of the fire. Additionally, the Sodders received a letter in 1967 that contained a photo of a young man who looked like Louis Sodder, one of the missing children. However, there is no concrete evidence to prove that the children were kidnapped, and the identity of the young man in the photo remains unknown. Another theory is that the children ran away from home. This is a less likely theory, but it is still possible. The Sodder children were all teenagers, and they may have decided to run away from home for whatever reason. However, there is no evidence to suggest that the children were planning to run away and they left behind their belongings. The most likely theory is that the children died in the fire. This is the most likely theory, but it is also the most difficult to prove. The fire was very intense, and it is possible that the children's bodies were completely incinerated. However, there are some inconsistencies with this theory. For example, the children's bedroom was on the second floor, and there is no evidence that the fire ever reached that part of the house. Additionally, the children's beds were not disturbed. Today, the mystery of the Sodder children remains unsolved. The original family members have all passed away, but their surviving relatives continue to seek answers. The charred remains of the house have long since vanished, but the haunting question lingers. What really happened to the Sodder children on that fateful Christmas Eve? Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of history's most perplexing mysteries. If you have any theories or thoughts, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more mysterious stories. Until next time, stay curious.